we can officially start this discussion round on the EU Green Claims Directive, and I'm really, really happy and proud about this panel that we have in discussion on that, because I see I believe that there are very important different perspectives on this issue that I guess almost everyone dealing with sustainable building now came somehow in contact with, but nevertheless there are tons of question marks about what's important for me now in the time being and so on. Therefore, just to give you a short introduction, I guess Michael Halstenberg we already introduced with his keynote before, and also I guess you all know Christine Lemaitre, our CEO at DGNB, and who joins us here for the discussion round. On the one hand is Cisse Norman, Cisse, I don't really know how to spell your third name. Cisse from, so I just stay with Cisse. So Cisse is Director for Partnerships and Strategic Development at the Green Building Council in Denmark, a system partner of DGNB for a long time now. And she will bring in the perspective from abroad and how things are handled in Denmark, because this is quite special. And I'm really happy to have Emmanuelle Maire with us from the EU Commission itself. So she's Directorate General for the Environment, Head of Unit Circular Economy and Sustainable Production and Consumption, where this Green Claims Directive originally comes from. Correct me if I'm wrong. So for this round, I guess the perfect starting point will be Emmanuelle, if you can slightly introduce about, on the one hand, what the Green Claim Directive is about, and on the other hand, also to maybe give us some background information about the original aim that the EU Commission has with this Green Claims Directive.
Very good. Good afternoon to all, and thanks a lot for your invitation. Felix, just to catch up on what's going on in Brussels. Indeed, the European Commission made a proposal for a directive to address false environmental claims and address greenwashing across all sectors of the economy. So this proposal was made last year, and it is up for discussions and decision by the European Parliament and the 27 member states of the European Union. And so very briefly to go back as to why, what type of problems we address, we see that companies across the European Union face different types of requirements when they decide to make voluntary green claims. So we're not talking about, the environmental information which needs to be given because the law prescribes it, but we're talking about voluntary claims made by companies and addressed to the consumer, so not to the B2B segment. And so because of these different requirements, we have a well-documented phenomenon of greenwashing. And when we look at the evidence we collected, we found out that more than 50 of the examined environmental claims in the EU were vague, misleading, or unfounded, and that also 40% of those green claims were unsubstantiated. In addition to that, we have a multitude of eco-labeling schemes, about 230 eco-labels. And so consumers really do not know what are the robust ones and the ones which are not. So in short, the objective is to protect consumers from greenwashing, but also to protect companies from greenwashing, because we see that some companies are really applying, good substantiation, good communication towards consumers, but this is obviously not the case for all. And then the primary purpose is to make sure that consumers can contribute to the green transition by making informed purchasing decisions, and also to boost the competitiveness of economic operators that make efforts to increase their environmental sustainability for both their products or their organizations. I stop here, but obviously I'm eager to enter the debate. Thank you.
Yeah, just maybe just to give. I found when I read it or went through it, I found because everyone's only talking about Green Claims Directive and greenwashing and so on, but as the headline is empowering customers for the green transition. I guess it's a very important, strong phrase that it's over there, and that the discussions are somehow that are happening at the moment maybe a little bit misleading. Nevertheless, maybe you can before we hand over to Michael to introduce a little bit how what from his experience this means for the construction sector itself. Where do we stand at the moment? On the 17th of January, if I understand right, there's been a very important date where the next steps came into play by the parliament. Where do we are, and what will be the next steps in terms of introducing the Green Claims Directive?
Exactly. So where do we stand now, in short? So there is a Commission proposal, and there are a lot of discussions on one side at the European Parliament, and on the other side with the 27 member states. So the European Parliament aims at adopting the first reading, its first reading in March. So you will see some headlines on this mid-March. They will propose amendments. They have their own views. And the 27 member states are also, screening the proposal, making amendments as well. And they will reach the so-called general approach in June. So I think that in the second part of this year, the views of the co-legislators will be reconciled, and we should aim at having a directive agreed at the end of this year. So we still have a little bit of time, but there are obviously intense negotiations ongoing. So what it means for the construction sectors, it means that if you're really operating in the B2B environment, so there is no change because we are not, proposing to make any rules on this B2B segment. However, if you communicate towards the consumers, and if you have, for example, eco-labeling schemes, then it means that there will be a greater level in stringency in substantiating the green claims, and also communicating adequately, and checking that the claims which are made are sound. So basically, we don't want to leave it for the consumer to at the end of the road, they have seen a green claim which was misleading. This had an impact on their purchasing decision. They are not happy. They go to court. So all the burden is on the consumer. So here we are asking, companies that make green claims towards the consumer to apply themselves some level of stringency regarding what they claim, based on what, how they communicate, and the verification of these claims. And again, solid eco-labeling schemes. We are not against green claims. On the contrary, it's a mean to empower the consumer, but we want a level playing field as to what is said to the consumer.
Michael, the way that Emmanuelle describes it, and also what's the idea behind, do you, when you give lectures about it and you inform others about it, do you have the feeling that this EU Commission view is the only way how it is been dealt with, or or maybe you also consult companies to already think 1, 2, 3 steps ahead because of there will be a shift in dealing with green claims also on the B2B level?
Sorry, Felix, the question was addressed to me. I'm sorry, I don't have a very good sound, so that's why I'm
asking.
No, it
was to Michael. Michael.
Okay.
Michael. This was to Michael. So yeah, your microphone is switched off, so I just need to switch your mic on.
No.
No. Now it works. No.
No. No.
Yeah. Now it works.
Yes.
Yes.
Now it works. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. First, I agree that we have a big problem in recognizing what is really sustainable, and therefore the directive is a very good idea. Even I have to say it is only directive, so it has to be transposed into German law or the law of the other member states. But it's very important because all the industries, they know sustainable is important for sales. And so we have all these products and they say it's sustainable. We do not know what are the criteria they take and what is the limit values they choose. So we have even cruises that say we are sustainable because they take they say the longer we drive and the lower the consumption per passenger is during the cruises, but that is not sustainability. So it's a good idea to have criteria and to say we need limited values, we need to control criteria, and we have to have reliable data, and we have to evaluate them in a good way. And therefore, I think this will work when we take it to the German law, because we have a lot of things like transparency. So to see what is going on, what are the criteria, neutrality. So we have third-party control, and we have even the scientific quality that is necessary, and the system success. So we have to have potential parties to work on the criteria and the system, and therefore I think, or I hope, that it will work soon.
So when looking into the construction sector itself and thinking about B2B, about B2C, about products and so on, so it seems that on the first hand, the building product manufacturers should be the first ones to really address this topic. Is this right?
Yes, at the moment, I think we have the problem that the limits we have are not clear. So sometimes I have the feeling that the limit values are so low that almost all the products fulfill them. So we have 100 products, and they say when we take the limits low, 80% of the products are sustainable, and that cannot be. So we have to make clear what 20% of the products are more sustainable than the others. And I know the manufacturers, they in the past they were not very interested to make it clear. So we have to implement third-party control to that, and then there will be a new performance and development on sustainability in this sector, I think. And we know that there are a lot of products like steel, and so they are very important for that topic.
Christina, next to the product manufacturer, there's also, Micha just said, it's about third-party verification. DGNB offers certification, not for products, but for buildings. Nevertheless, we have a number also on product labels being member of DGNB, or we have recognition by the DGNB that we use in the system. How does DGNB as an organization with our products try to step these first or move these first steps towards the Green Claims Directive to just be sure that we do the right things?
Yeah, well, I think the first step for us is to be very self-critical. I mean, I can just as well maybe echo a bit what Michael Halstenberg just said. I think it's a very good initiative. And Emmanuelle, I think that's what we learned from the EU taxonomy, that even if it's not mandatory, it has a lot of power when it comes out of Brussels. And sure, if it's just like B2C at the moment, certain products and certain activities are not so well to be distinguished. So in our opinion, it's a very great move that finally there will be some clarity. And I think for me, it's as well about the question, who's responsible for what? And I think you said a very important part is like a fair competition. And I'm not a big fan, but coming from the real estate sector, you know, where it's always the market's responsibility to have demand for certain things. Because normally the market, you know, when it's about buildings and building products, comes in so late that they can just take what, you know, has been built for them. So I think to take away responsibility where it belongs towards the companies and to have a fair and transparent competition, I think is a very crucial point. So for us, it means we're very self-critical in the way of how do we communicate, because we've been doing that for 15 years. So we have to make sure we're not using some claims or something, you know, that maybe were invented a few years ago and we just didn't revisit them. So, and we're always very interested in getting that outside view on our work and see where can we bring an actual value to what we do and how can we as well enhance the value of certification, where in the moment we just certify buildings which are not part of the Green Claim Directive yet. But, you know, for the finance sector, there are as well products, and I don't know, you know, how it's handled because they're as well kind of being marketed as investment products. So we're actually very much looking forward to that. And if there's something we need to improve in our organization, we're happy to do so and to as well educate the market. And I think that is something we've been seeing coming from Brussels more and more, not just in the Green Claim Directive, but as well in other directives and concepts. We've seen that this third-party verification gets more and more relevant, and that's what we've been fighting for in the market for many years, to make sure certification is not marketing. It has a value because it's independently verified and checked. So I think for us, certain things come now together. So I'm very positive, and whatever we can do to make better what we do, we're very happy to do that.
Before we go a little bit more, we see in the first questions coming in there on the concrete phrases and so on and how to deal with them. Sisse, maybe from you, the look from or the perspective from Denmark. Christine mentioned that there are several directives, and when thinking about sustainability, so Denmark somehow is more or less often or always the role model. How are things handled in your country at the moment, and are there already some tendencies that go beyond what's the idea of the Green Claims Directive?
Thank you, Felix, and thank you for having me in this discussion. I think it's extremely important, and I'm very happy to see such a great panel here. But just to echo Michael and Christine, we are really happy from the Green Building Council Denmark to see green claims advance like this. How we see it is that we need a level playing field for companies, because right now some companies are saying unsubstantiated claims regarding products, and that makes less transparency in the market. And as a consumer, it is extremely difficult to navigate in. So just first of all, we welcome this initiative very much. In Denmark, we have been working quite intensely with the dilemma for a few years now, because our consumer ombudsman, appointed by the Danish government, is working very closely with all regarding marketing and the unfair trading practice directive. And we have been seeing this implemented, and also I want to welcome the ombudsman and their work with this, but it has been I think it has trained us a bit for the things that are coming with the green claims, because what we have been seeing is since 2012, we have had this legislation in Denmark, but in 2019, the Consumer Ombudsman made new guidelines on how to handle this. And basically, you cannot make any green claims unsubstantiated. You have to be able to document. And we believe this is a great initiative. Also, of course, it has quite a few demands for the companies in Denmark. So we have been working closely with the Ombudsman's office in order to make a guide for the building construction and construction center of what you can communicate about. And we have come down, as I told Christine when I saw you last time, we are down to the fact that you cannot, in Denmark, you cannot name any building or anything in the sector sustainable. It's too large a word, and you can never have anything that's sustainable. So you can compete on this material, this building has a better LCA compared to, but you have to be able to document your facts. And what we've been seeing in Denmark is this has led to quite a bit of greenwashing. So at some point, a year and a half ago, a lot of our members in the Green Building Council all of a sudden took all their communication regarding sustainability, the green agenda, and so on. They removed it from their website because they were in doubt on what you could say. And of course, this is not a good thing either, because of course you have to communicate about the things you do. So we tried to make this guide together with the Ombudsman. But we are seeing now lawsuits against companies, both material producers, but also actually developers, claiming that they have a sustainable material, sustainable building coming up, and it's actually quite big fees you can get as to pay. It's up to 1% of the turnover of the entire corporation. So if you are a very big company, it is quite large sums, and it has made that the Danish sector is very focused on this, and we see this as an advantage. And I think that the green claims will bring this on further, and we'll be looking forward to having more level playing field across Europe, because some of our members that work across the European countries said that, but then in this country I can say this, but then in Denmark I can't. And I think it will be very helpful when we have like more clear asks for the company. So we are looking very much forward to this work, and I think we are kind of in a training mode in Denmark. At least people are very aware of this.
Emmanuelle, when we had the discussion also Sisse, on this term of sustainability and or sustainable and so on, and try to reflect and so on, what comes into my mind, and this is what I want to address to you, Emmanuelle, we have 24 official languages in the EU, and especially on the term of sustainability, which is just, so when we translate the German word nachhaltig to someone who just wants to say sustainability isn't it's all or nothing, we always say we translate it with quality, Qualität, and Zukunftsfähigkeit, which means Zukunftsfähigkeit in English is sustainability itself. So to German words with one claim. How do you deal with this issue of those many different languages where maybe behind similar claims are different concepts?
Well, maybe also to, I hope you can hear me well. Yes. To echo also
yes,
what Sisse was saying, we had that debate also on what, on the possibility to say, my product or my organization is sustainable, is eco-friendly, is good for nature, what we call generic claims. So what Sisse was telling about Denmark actually was also debated recently at European Union level. And there was a decision to ban this type of generic claims. So this means that traders, companies will need to be very, very careful, because they will not be able to have this type of very generic claims towards the consumers unless they have a label of excellence to show that they are among the best performer. For example, if you have, I don't know, an EU eco-label on a specific construction product, then you could potentially say that. But otherwise, this would not be possible. On your question on languages, indeed, we function in Europe with different languages. It's not new. And we have rules on the communication in the context of the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive, which Cesar was referring to as well, that always leave the possibility for competent authorities and judges in each state to, to grasp what type of effect the communication in a certain language may have on a dedicated market. So the directive on the unfair commercial practices takes this into account, and I think it works well. The issue is that it's more difficult, and it has been more difficult for competent authorities to look at the substantiation behind a green claim. So this is really what is at stake these days. That sometimes competent authorities that are dealing with consumer angle, they will check a green claim by a company, but they will not be necessarily in an easy situation to look at the methods, to look at the data, to check if the substantiation that will back then the communication is accurate enough. So this is why with the proposal on green claims, we ask companies to put a greater focus on the substantiation, to have a check on the substantiation. And if this is fine, then you have, the certificate of conformity, and you can move around Europe. So in short, I think that on the languages side, we have a well-established experience within Europe with competent authorities which are doing their work. But we need, more help from companies and verifiers to support the checks ultimately on substantiation.
What we see in the question is, and we see in other discussions, that it's most often it goes around this claim of climate neutral, climate positive, net zero, whatever it means. And here's also the question about what the EU Green Claims Directive tells about CO2 compensation certificates, which are, of course, is part of that. Maybe before you, Emmanuelle, gives us the insights in what's in there, maybe Christine, from your side, how does DGNB, who brought in their own definition about what climate neutrality means and what we take into account, which role do compensations play there?
Yes, exactly. So that has been and is.
So first, give me a second. First for Christine. So just to say how DGNB deals with that, and then on the other, and afterwards what the EU says.
No, I was actually I'm very curious what Emmanuelle is going to say, because we at DGNB, we don't accept CO2 certificates as part of the definition of what a climate neutral building is. So, and that to us is very interesting, to see if the Green Claim Directive has an answer to that, because in the international context, there's now this big call out for more alignment between definitions, and we always try to make clear that Europe has evolved quite a bit, and that we have regulations such as the taxonomy, the EU Green Claim Directive, where alignment would mean, maybe more opening the door towards greenwashing, especially when it comes to CO2 certificates, which I think all the European councils, green building councils, exclude that from their definition. But I think there will be the need for common methodologies and common definitions more and more, because one thing is to verify something, but the other thing is, what do I verify again? So and I think that is a responsibility, at least we see for ourselves with our Green Building Council partners, that we have to come together and come up with a common definition. And that is not something I think the Green Claim Directive somehow can resolve itself. So I think it's a powerful tool, but I think we have to do our homework. But now I'm very interested, Emmanuelle. CO2 certificates is a quite emotional topic for some, as I heard. Yeah.
Exactly. So there was already a bold decision from the European Parliament and the 27 member states to ban climate-related claims made on products if they rely on so-called offsets. So this is, this is the level of concerns that we see at the EU level regarding, climate neutrality types of claims on products. Now, what is still very much debated, and in the context of the Green Claims proposal, is the possibility to make carbon claims or climate claims in relation to organizations, so for the, a full company, or regarding, I think it has been mentioned on compensation claims. So there, on our side, the European Commission side, we've been always pressing for clear methodologies and also a clear distinction and a clear prioritization of the reduction of the emissions by a company, and then to cater for the remaining emissions, then eventually use some credits. But there, the discussion is still ongoing at European Union level. So I think it's really timely also for the construction and building sector to see which way it wants to go. In general, there is a strong focus at European Union level at this point in time on the need for EU-wide certification of carbon removals. So that can be carbon removals in the sense of carbon farming, of industrial carbon removals, but also wood-based construction materials or others. So it is indeed a very timely moment to discuss this, knowing that, again, there is a lot of caution on the co-legislator side at EU level as to what will be claimed in relation to climate and through the use of credits or offsets.
But maybe to
there's one question.
Sorry. So I just wanted to, translate that for what would that mean for DGNB. So to be more ambitious is always a good idea. And so I think we're there on hopefully a good path at the moment.
There was a question from the audience in order to please define approved certification schemes in the context of sustainability labels not based on approved schemes. So how do we get existing schemes approved? Who will be approving the schemes, and who do we need to contact for when and how? Well, maybe this also goes in your direction. Michael, we lost Michael. Where's Michael? Maybe also in his direction.
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry, the device got too hot and switched off automatically, but now I'm here, but I switch off the camera. I think the big points of a powerful development is reliability data. We need data we can use, objective criteria, reasonable limits, and independent certificates. So a certification is very important, and we can use the system of accreditation, and we have it already. And so if the system will keep that, and it seems to be so, then I'm hopeful that it will work in the end. So we get objective information of sustainability of the products.
Is accreditation the only way? I guess in the rebuilding Green Claims Directive, if I understood right. So if there are new label or new scheme wants to come into play, it needs to be more ambitious as the ones that are there. Is this right, Emmanuelle?
Yes, indeed, because what we're trying what we are trying to do is to limit the proliferation of new eco-labeling schemes and to reinforce the robustness of the existing ones. So what we have proposed, and again, it's not, the final decision because this is being discussed, but what we have proposed is that when a private new schemes wants to come in the market, then they would need to demonstrate their added value compared to existing schemes. And together with member states, we would check that. And if there is an added value, for example, because it covers more products than existing schemes, or it is more robust, then we would allow that scheme on the European Union market. So indeed, we are really being more stringent as to the new or the future schemes. So this check on the added value would not be for the existing ones, but would be for the new ones coming to the market.
There was also one question regarding a text passage that there's an obligation to verify any green claims by a verifier before making it. And Ms. Bade says this affects sustainable companies more than others. How can we make sure it will not lead to green bureaucracy and costs for them? Sister, maybe first to you. Do you see exactly this is what you mentioned with the greenwashing aspects, that companies are doing less because of bureaucracy, or do you believe that especially also in your country there will be a high interest, or it will be more valuable to have a green claim as you need to have this verification?
As I said before, I believe that this is actually an advantage. Right now, of course, it is quite some work to be able to substantiate what you claim you do. But once we get in the process of doing it, it's a bit like the DGNB certification. In the beginning in Denmark, there were quite few working with it, and it was difficult to get to learn to how you do the different things when you certify something. But once you're into it, you get used to it. And I think it's the same thing with the green claims. And in order for those who actually make a difference to be able to compete on this sustainability approach, or what you would call it, we need to do this. But I think that also companies who I think quite a few companies also who don't work within the sustainability agenda will be looking into this as well, because many companies claim to do something for the planet or other things, even though their products are not in a traditional sustainability range. So I think it will be quite a bit of work up front, but I think once we get to the other side, those who actually make a difference will be better positioned, and those who claim to do something they don't will be able to identify those.
Jamie, maybe just because we have now officially starting also the open stage, we will take 5 minutes more if we had the technical issues at the very beginning. So to there was, so what, I lost the line. This is what I wanted to ask you, Emmanuelle. Just as what we said with the bureaucracy topic, in this Green Claims Directive, I guess there's this part where it says that the very small companies do not need to deal in this way. But what does this mean? It says that a very small company can still use green claims and do not need to verify, or just do they need to deal in a different way, or what does it mean directly?
Yes, so we were very mindful about the so-called micro companies, so companies having less than 10 people, and the impact that the ex-ante verification of a claim would have on them, because it could affect them disproportionately in a higher manner than larger companies. So we have proposed to exclude from the mandatory application of the Green Claims Directive, the smaller companies. But this being said, if they want to step in, they have also the possibility, to have their claims verified, and then they would have the certificate of conformity also to operate within Europe. But again, there is indeed a risk for the smaller companies. Again, this is really debated now by the European Parliament and the 27 member states. So far, the European Parliament is keeping this exemption for the smaller companies. And we will see on the member states' side. What is clear is that the smaller operator cannot also, mislead the consumer. I mean, the consumer always has the possibility to go to court saying, I've been misled on the basis of the unfair commercial practices. So it's not, a free ride for smaller operators, but we've been mindful about the administrative burden. There will be a big need from everyone to help companies build their solid green claims. We are very much, aware that this requires support from the European Commission, for example, on data, from the member states, but also from larger organizations, from ecosystems, from organizations that have that expertise. So it's very important to, first agree on the Green Claims Directive and be aware of the necessity to collectively support each other to make these robust green claims ultimately and make it the least expensive as possible. So this is very much, a concern we have.
Okay, so as we need to finish maybe the last round, and I know that there are a number of questions what we cannot finalize, but nevertheless, as soon as there are open questions, for sure you can also send it to DGNB, and we circle it around and maybe find the answers also from you, Emmanuelle, or the other ones. But maybe we each deal with different stakeholders in our organizations, or Michael, as in your part as a lawyer, what would be your one or two sentence consulting? What should be done now at the moment in terms of the green claims? Maybe, Michael, you want to start?
Yeah, we have to put it in action, hopefully very quickly. And I think that the market will learn in whole, even the SMEs. And greenwashing is a form of unfair competition. So we have to think about it to take action against it, even if it's SMEs or others. And we need reliable claims and not more advertising something that is not reliable.
Christine, what do you say to the DGNB members, organizations certifying and so on?
Well, like I said earlier, I mean, we're very self-critical, very active, so we will make sure and ensure that the DGNB certification is holding up to these standards. And what I said earlier about the CO2 certificates or compensation, that we will stay on a very ambitious path, because I think this is what we see, more and more things like people getting aware, it becomes more and more regulation. So this is part of our responsibility to show a future-oriented pathway forward. That is something we will keep up. And I would recommend to all our members to take it seriously and to really look at it and start now to not say, oh, now we have to do everything completely different and it's a lot of bureaucracy. I think it's a certain kind of honesty, what we need, and it is something we've been advocating as DGNB already for many, many years. So I see that more as an encouragement. I think many of our members are on a very good path when it comes to being very cautious and very substantial in the claims they make and how they advertise their product as well as their services.
Cesar, what do you tell your members in Denmark?
What we tell our members in Denmark is that we are very happy to be part of a European family, the DGNB system, and that we are very happy to develop in collaboration with because we want this standard to be applicable outside, the national borders of our various countries. So working together with you, working together with CPO, the World Green Building Council, and so on, in finding solutions to this is the way we see, and we are very confident that we will be able to live up to this new directive. But we are also happy that we are not doing this alone as a national entity, but it's done in a European context. And I think that's a very big stronghold for the certification that we all work with.
So, and Emmanuelle, the last words are with you. We have a wide audience from municipalities, product manufacturers, architects, and so on and so forth. Even if they're not directly linked to the Green Claims Directive itself, what would you say to them as an advice?
Felix, the question is for Michael or for me? Sorry.
No, it's for you. It's for you. You
okay,
have the last
sorry.
words, of course.
So yes, no, my last word would be really to thank the DGNB family, because you've been investing a lot on this European approach, on this common language for sustainable buildings. We've been trying to, gather all the actors, architects, real estate, local actors, to make sure that we speak the same language as to what is a sustainable building. So, beyond green claims, I'd like to thank you very much for your support in this endeavor. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we also like working together with you on those different levels, with levels being the one framework we closely work together with. So thanks a lot to the speakers, even if we lost Michael, you with your picture, but I guess it's a very important topic. Cici, you already had some courses for your members, for sure. Christina, we will have some in the future, just to give the advice in the right way. So thanks a lot. For the other ones who'd like to go to the open stage, there will be a number of member organizations just presenting themselves, and we will get back to the main stage at 2 p.m. with a presentation of the U-Haul in Mannheim, our winner of the German Sustainability Award last year. So thanks very much, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.